a lot more scrappy than last week. So I don't know if you saw any of last week's Carol, but it was very subdued in the Commons. Everybody was trying very hard to maintain very statesman-like
and quite
calm.
right too, given
quite
what's
right
happening.
too, exactly. But today we saw a very different mood from Sir Keir Starmer, who obviously was completely jubilant mood following the two huge by-election wins that his party got last week in Tamworth and Mid Bedfordshire. And you saw just then those MPs cheering, and you saw the new MPs for Mid Beds and for Tamworth coming in to make their debuts in the Commons as well for their first PMQs, sitting behind their leader. So they were very, very happy.
They'd have washed behind the
that.
ears, wouldn't they, this
Exactly.
morning?
So obviously, yes, I think personally, I think Keir Starmer had a very good week, and he would have a very good week, being completely confident after those
record-breaking.
For sure, exactly. And then Rishi Sunak, obviously, as we've just been talking about, is trying to mark his 12 months in power. So I think what we saw from Rishi Sunak was him trying to note all of his successes that he feels that he's had in the last 12 months. He was talking about helping people with their energy bills. He was talking about cost of living payments, trying to help renters, trying to deliver more affordable homes. So Sir Keir Starmer then came out to say, well, actually, you've not been helping renters with this reforms. You've been kicking it back, as we discussed earlier. So I think I win that 1 point for predicting that.
1
point for me.
James, don't you?
Yes, we try
Natasha prediction.
We try and do some predictions of what we think will come up. So yes, renters reform did come up. Sir Keir Starmer pressing Rishi Sunak on why on earth he had kicked that back into the long grass yet again. We also saw the PM got a little bit of a rap from the Speaker of the House of Commons there when he said, actually, it's Prime Minister's questions, Prime Minister. It's not leaders of the opposition questions. And I think he then nodded in acknowledgement, and the Speaker was like, actually, come on, no, this isn't actually about you. This is about, you're meant to be answering the questions. You're not meant to be asking Sir Keir Starmer what he thinks about that. So that was very interesting as well. But yes, a very general, jubilant mood from Sir Keir Starmer, who then went on to call for a general election now, as you have just been discussing.
Well, absolutely. And you let me down by saying it's another 52 weeks on Rishi's Twitter video.
But yes, obviously Sir Keir Starmer is of the view of most people. I think we've been seeing this in the polls recently. People have been discussing when they would like to see a general election, and most people do want to see one sooner rather than later. And obviously Keir Starmer says, now's the time, come on, let's go to the polls and see what you really think. And obviously a year into Rishi Sunak's leadership, he hopes that he'll have another 52 weeks, according to that video that we just saw earlier today on his social media feed, which says 52 weeks, watch this space, what more can we achieve if we're given the chance? So yes, Rishi Sunak obviously going in telling us, politicians like Keir Starmer take the easy way out. I'm the guy that makes the long-term decisions for the country. He's talking about HS2. He mentioned net zero. He mentioned his promises from the Tory party conference to stamp out smoking. That was his argument. Keir Starmer obviously dismissed all of that. I think Keir Starmer had a much better cues this week than Rishi Sunak did.
I think the voters in Tamworth and Mid Beds dismissed most of what happened. Tried to forget most of what happened at the Tory party conference. We've had Margot, who's a new caller, just a message. And this was something that was coming through in the first hour, Natasha, with reference to PMQs. Margot says, hello, Margot. She says, I'm sorry, Carol, I'm trying to listen to PMQs, but I just can't handle the usual shouting, sniping and donkey braying from these so-called adults who are supposed to be acting on our behalf. And it does seem to be, there's a general mood of that. Amongst callers in that first hour that's sort of about behaviour and that the system must change. There are a lot of people saying they should be forced to answer the questions because they're not answering the question.
I agree. If I were to wave a magic wand, that would be my one thing, is that politicians should answer the questions that we journalists and the voters as well every day give them, and I don't think they do that enough.
Yeah, I want to talk to you, Natasha, about the COVID inquiry, because it isn't getting much coverage in the press. Obviously last week particularly, and this week, the events in the Middle East are taking over everything. However, the COVID inquiry is extremely important to people in this country. And they start again tomorrow morning. We had what I found was pretty horrific evidence from a number of professors last week and quotes from various WhatsApp conversations between Matt Hancock and a guy called Damon Poole. And I mean, it leaves me dumbfounded. What is the COVID inquiry going to be dealing with tomorrow and further on in the week?
So I think, your point that the media hasn't really been picking up on this will definitely change with the announcement of some of these guests that we're expecting. I don't think we've got exact dates for when Rishi Sunak will come before the inquiry.
Is he bringing his phone?
Exactly. Well, obviously, just to give listeners that context, Rishi Sunak says that he could not get the WhatsApp messages off his old phone.
Really? I
Yes.
tell you what, can we put a call out to all 16-year-olds to get down to 10 Downing Street? It's the cheapest way of getting his WhatsApp messages back.
For sure. And, obviously, we did have a story actually earlier this week where Rishi Sunak's phone number was appeared online.
Yes.
That's the old phone number, apparently, which he says he can't access. So there's some questions for Downing Street to answer in the run-up to that, and they will have to get their story straight on why Rishi Sunak can't recover his old messages. And obviously Boris Johnson tried that trick too, of I can't find my old phone, I can't get into the security. And I think he has now handed over his phone, he's handed over all of his notebooks to this inquiry. So we should be hearing from Boris Johnson soon, we should be hearing from Dominic Cummings soon, the former Prime Minister.
When you say soon, that's advisor. In the
next few
weeks.
I think next few weeks in this next tranche before they break again. So we haven't got an exact date. I don't think the COVID inquiry has revealed their exact timetables, but we should be hearing a lot more from them about those key decisions that they took. And I think, to hear from Boris Johnson himself, there's obviously a lot of questions for him to answer for sure, isn't there?